Hey everybody, Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here. I'm going to talk about the full moon in Pisces and actually a little more. I think I'm going to talk about the whole month of September because I want to just do it a little differently. It's Venus retrograde, it's Mercury retrograde. I think it's going to behoove me to do the full month ahead, and I have a calendar for you, and we're just going to go over that. Yeah, so let's get started. Today is Wednesday, August 30th. It's a full moon in Pisces, and it's going to happen around 8:30 p.m. tonight in the central US. That's where I'm at. So if you're in a different spot, adjust for your time zone. Okay, so the last time I came to you was what, like a month ago? This is a while ago. I did the whole Venus retrograde period and actually went over this full moon in that. Um, I wanted to give myself a little space to think about how I wanted to move forward with the YouTube videos, etc. So it's been a minute. Sorry, but I needed just a break. But it wasn't really a break. I am in a band and we've been playing a lot because we have a new album out. Please go check it out on Spotify if you are a listener, or Apple Music, or wherever. Our band name is Love Rat, like a rat that loves things, you know the opposite of Hate Cat. That's what I was telling people. Our fake nemesis band, Hate Cat. But we have a new album out called Howl at the Moon. It's appropriate for today. I think that I talk about it. Howl at the Moon is the name of our album, and yeah, some of the stuff I would say was inspired by astrology, but don't tell the country boys that because they may not listen to me. I'm kidding. It is something I'm proud of, but wow, has it been hard to get out. And I think that is one of the things that we're dealing with this full moon in Pisces, which is with Saturn, is the work we have to put in to make our dreams come true. Pisces is dreams. Pisces is spirituality. It's very abstract. It can be confusion. It can be escapism. And this full moon is shining a light on not only that Piscean concept, but also Saturn, which is work there. So I've been really kind of tuning into the fact that Saturn, which is boundaries and structure and work and obstacles sometimes, the mastery maestro, the planet, I mean, they're personalized to me, but the planet that wants us to do something, to put in the work to master a place in our lives. So Saturn being in Pisces is this very structured thing in a sign that is not structured, a sign that has no structure. It is limitless. That is Pisces. It's the ether, it's mysticism, it's inspiration. So it's trying to bring structure into this place. And sometimes that can overtake Saturn, and that's where the escapism comes in and maybe delusion. The last time Saturn was in Pisces was the mid-90s, and we had a lot of great music come out around that time. The Nintendo, the Magic School Bus, all these really cool things. But then we also had some things that were less than awesome, like domestic terrorism and Waco and delusion, right? So a lot of these things can come back up. So, with Saturn and Pisces, it's better to steer the boat, if you can, towards the materializing of our desires and dreams, the ones that we think may never come true. This is the time to reach for them. And so this past weekend, which would have been the 25th, 26th, the sun opposed Saturn, and there were all these obstacles. And that brings me back to my story about the band. We had this great opportunity and we took it, but it was hard work. We had to set up in 100-degree weather and stay out there, and like really we had to chug electrolytes just to be able to be out in the sun. We didn't play till late at night, so we had to be up early and do all these things and just wait around. Saturn's retrograde, and then Mercury's retrograde, and so things were going wrong. We had our power cut out inexplicably in and out. We had our oh yeah, our drummer didn't have a hotel room for a day or two. Like, we had to chase that down. It felt like we were chasing our tails and doing really backbreaking labor for most of the time. And there was only like 2 hours each night where we were actually playing and in our passion, right? And it was just so right on for exactly what the Sun Saturn opposition you should almost expect or prepare for, really. And that's really how astrology helps. We can prepare, we can think outside the box, ecstasy, to stand outside oneself, ecstatic astrology, right? So think out, and I knew the Saturn Sun opposition was coming. A lot of times you just don't know what, but it kind of made sense. I was like, okay, we have this show, something's going to be weird and something's going to be hard. And it was, definitely. And then let's just talk about Mercury retrograde in Virgo while we're at it, because that's actually ruling this full moon. Okay. So we did this work of the past weekend with the Sun opposite Saturn. There could have been obstacles. And that was answering to Mercury eventually, because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Leo, which is ruled by the Sun. The Sun is in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, which is retrograde in its own home sign, Virgo. So everything answers to Mercury retrograde right now. And that's why even the Sun Saturn opposition could have even felt glitchier or more obstacle ridden than normal. And so it's ruling this full moon as well. So Mercury retrograde is just like super big energy. And the thing about Mercury retrograde is that it's also trine to Jupiter. Jupiter expands everything it touches. Jupiter is truth. Jupiter is abundance. Jupiter wants us to grow something in that fertile Taurus soil where it's at, Jupiter and Taurus. So you have two earth signs working together. It just so happens it's Mercury retrograde working with Jupiter. So this is a definite moment to rethink, redo. We may have seen the obstacles of this past weekend, but it was worth it, right? That's the Sun opposition to Saturn. Is it worth it? Are you going to persevere? Are you going to keep going? Okay, you get past it, which the full moon is. The full moon's at 7 degrees, Saturn's at 3. So the full moon passes Saturn. In fact, it's with Saturn right now while I'm recording this. And it feels like it. I already had to restart the video because I had one thing wrong on the calendar that I made. So you get my point. Like, it's just this kind of beating your head on a wall feeling, but the moon will be past Saturn when it's full. So it's shining a light on the things that we could potentially actually put our minds to with how we do it differently. Like I saw the things that went wrong. I saw the things that I would do differently. Doesn't mean the work I put in is any less valuable or worth it. The reward is great. We had a bunch of people watch our van that wouldn't have watched us otherwise because we were in a place that we aren't normally. Did it take a lot of work? Yes. How would I do it differently next time? That's what I need to sit and think about. And so this is a time to rework, but also to acknowledge that you are working towards a goal, towards your dream. Full moon in Pisces. It could be extremely exhausting. Pisces is dreams. Pisces is, inspiration. A lot of times that dreamy nature comes through in sleepiness. And I've felt extremely exhausted. Of course, we all tend to exert ourselves with Sun opposite Saturn. And therefore there is the rest period after. And Pisces is about rest. And maybe that's what this represents, is a chance to rest after the hard work too. But while you're resting, it's about tuning into that truth, what you would do differently, how you're going to do it. Okay. So I will go over the rising signs separately. We'll do that separately. But I am going to go through the calendar and just show you what's coming up in September. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. So first of all, let's just, tune into something that's already happened. Mars entered Libra Sunday. Mars is action. Mars is the warrior. Mars is, it's how we move through life. It's our will, our motivation. And in Libra, it can't exactly act like the warrior it wants to, okay? So when we think about Libra, we think about other people and justice, and we think about fairness and boundaries, especially with Libra having to make sure everything's equal. That's where the boundaries come in with Libra. But Mars in Libra, doesn't really like to acknowledge those balanced acts within groups, right? But it has to. So it can be passive aggressive with Mars and Libra. But a lot of times it can also be the peaceful warrior, or what we are motivated to do is to bring balance. It could also bring anger into relationships. It can bring instability into relationships. It could bring a desire for stability if things have been unstable. You see Mars action, Mars frustration, Mars motivation, Libra, other people, relationships, balance, fairness, justice. So that's going on. It's going to be there for a while. And you will see throughout the month, I have the moon's interactions with Mars, because a lot of times the moon, which moves every day and it moves fast, we don't always notice where the moon is. Sometimes we do. I like to follow it along, but we really do whenever it interacts with Mars. Okay, so Mars being frustration and sometimes aggravation, sometimes motivation. Whenever the moon, our emotions, sorry about that, that's frustration on my part. Whenever the moon, our emotions interacts with it, we get sometimes emotions boiling over, or sometimes this extra frustration is feeding on each other. So you'll see these little faces here. That's going to show where the moon's interacting with Mars. So like, for instance, Friday the 1st, the moon opposes Mars. Friday the 8th, the moon squares Mars, and it kind of straddles 2 Fridays. Same thing happens whenever the moon conjoins Mars on Friday the 16th and squares Mars again on Friday the 23rd. So just so you know what those faces are, they're not an extremely important transit. They're just a moment to kind of tune in and go, okay, yeah, that could be a little frustrating, or that could be motivational, or whatever emotionally upsets me that day may be a place I need to take action, that kind of a thing. Okay, so today, full moon in Pisces with Saturn, just went over that. The other thing to note is that the lay of the land is pretty much still the same, other than Mars and Libra. We have Venus retrograde in Leo still. And then we have Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Those are square, Venus retrograde in Leo and Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. And that can be a redoing of what we value, what maybe needs to adjust in order to grow. Almost like a rebranding is how I talked about it in the Venus retrograde video. Saturn in Pisces, Mercury retrograde in Virgo. All these things are kind of the same, right? The sun is in Virgo. We will start to have some changes finally. Okay. Yay. I'm all for changes. So we got the full moon today, Wednesday. The moon moves into Aries and opposes Mars Friday the 1st. Okay. So I would mark that on my list as a maybe a heightened energetic day. The moon in Aries is about getting what we want. It's opposite to Mars in Libra, which is about maybe having to compromise when we don't necessarily want to. So you will see those themes come up, and emotions can maybe swing during that time, okay? The weekend, moon's still in Aries on the 2nd. And then we get into the 3rd, and the moon moves into Taurus, okay? But also something else very important happens. Venus is direct. So Venus is direct in Leo, and the moon is in a Venus-ruled sign, Taurus. So the moon in Taurus is going to look at Venus and go, you're calling the shots for this Taurus area. What's going on? And Venus is like, I think I'm done checking out this Leo area, making sure, that I know what I want here. So let's move forward. So we can feel like things begin to move forward Sunday the 3rd at night. It's going to be also around 8:30 p.m. Things are liking to happen in the evenings around this time. So the moon in Taurus is about comfort, right? Venus direct in Leo is about, now we may have to be moving forward with something that we've realized about ourselves, especially our creativity, what we love, our inner child. Leo is about getting attention in the best way, like showing off your creative process, showing off yourself. That's Venus retrograde in Leo. And then Venus moving direct in Leo is, okay, it's time to try it. Moon in Taurus is going to highlight the fact that Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus, kind of exploring what it is that we value, exploring where our money goes, exploring what makes us comfortable. And these two things are adjusting around each other, right? So on the 3rd, that becomes very prominent. The 4th, Mercury retrograde trines Jupiter exactly. Okay. So this is a completely different set of things. We can look at this kind of shift as, okay, Venus goes direct. Mercury is still rethinking the Virgo area of our charts. So when it comes to Virgo being meticulous and perfectionist and servant oriented and the mind and how we plan and how we make lists, maybe redoing that with the support of Jupiter and Taurus that's going, hey, yeah, this is the plant you want to grow. This is what you're trying to grow. And you may have watered it a little too much before, but now it's okay. We figured it out and we're just going to do it differently. Let's set up a different schedule to water it. So that's why I put a little microscope and a telescope, because it's about seeing the big picture, but also seeing the little steps it takes to get there. And that is Monday, the 4th. And I think that's going to be a really nice moment. But this whole week, this whole second week of September seems to be kind of nice. There's good things about it. Okay. Tuesday, the moon moves into Gemini, which is also ruled by Mercury retrograde. So the moon in Gemini is just going to be very busy, and we may have a busy week coming up next week, since we're in Wednesday already of this week. But that's September the 5th. September the 6th. Ooh, buddy. I'm very excited about this. It is a Mercury Cazimi, which means Mercury and the sun are together in the heart of the sun. Mercury Cazimi, trine, which is supportive, Jupiter, which is abundance and expansion and truth and all these really awesome things, right? Jupiter's in Taurus, Mercury Cazimi's in Virgo, 2 earth signs. This is about bringing the real world into our lives and saying, what do we do with it? What do we spend our money on? We may need to rethink how we do it, things of that nature. And I say money because Taurus is so easily associated with money, but what makes us comfortable? We're really exploring that with Jupiter there. Jupiter is truth and exploration, and wanting to foster it and fertilize it. Jupiter and Taurus. Mercury retrograde with the sun is like, oh, wait, this is how we're supposed to be doing it. And the Cazimi is actually very specific. It is 2:43 a.m. to 9:48 a.m. It's whenever Mercury is within 17 minutes of the sun, and not clock minutes, 17 minutes by the moon, by the degree that it's at. So this Mercury Cazimi trines Jupiter looks like a really, really awesome moment to figure something out and to make a plan to move forward, or to communicate something that needs to change. And then we have Thursday, the moon moves into Cancer, which is emotional. It's about moving emotion. It's about nurturing. And that, the 7th, that's really all it's doing. But for the 7th and 8th, the sun will be trine, supported by Jupiter. The sun, how we shine, the sun in Virgo, again, the details, again, our health, again, our body, our routines, our rituals. It's all Virgo, and Mercury retrograde's working on it too. But the sun trines Jupiter on the 7th and 8th as well. And I have a lady with a binocular standing on top of the world, because that's really what the sun trine Jupiter is about right now. It's about seeing the possibilities and what we need to do to get there. But also, some people take it a little overboard when the sun trines Jupiter and maybe get a little too perfectionist, a little too exploratory, a little too big-headed. So be aware of that, and doing too much. Like, maybe it's not a good idea to stand on top of the earth, because you will float out into space in real life if you did that. But ultimately, we do try to see the big picture with the sun trine Jupiter and what we are trying to grow. Okay, and that's why I have this little plant here for the Mercury Cazimi. This whole week is about looking at our roots and seeing what plant's going to grow from it, or how we can foster it to grow better. And in fact, the Sabian symbol for the Mercury Cazimi is even indicative of the roots. I think it actually says, look back at your roots and figure out where that power comes from, your ancestry. You being here today is a direct result of your ancestor living through something hard. Humans have not been around, and it's always been an easy time. So this is about drawing on that, I think. And I really love that imagery. And I think we will do that for the entirety of the week. Friday the 8th, a little bit of an emotional spark with the moon in Cancer, square Mars in Libra. It being such an emotional moon placement, moon rules Cancer. This could definitely be emotions running high due to something with a relationship, okay? Moon in Leo on Sunday the 10th. By the way, Saturday the 9th, just kind of coasting. The moon's in late Cancer. It'll trine Neptune, which is nice. So I think Saturday the 9th will be okay and kind of relaxing. The 10th, the moon moves into Leo. Now it's going to be in Leo for 3 days. And during that time, even though I don't have anything here, you can pretty much fill in the blanks with the moon's going to square Venus. I'm sorry, conjoin Venus, which is really actually pretty fortunate. And it'll do that pretty soon, probably on Monday, the 11th exactly. But then that means it's going to square Jupiter and square Uranus. Okay, so it's going to make aspects this whole time, and it's going to bring up the Venus retrograde. So what's really crazy is that we have like these two stories going on at the same time. We have the Virgo Pisces story, Mercury retrograde, the sun in Virgo, Saturn in Pisces, and then we have the fixed sign story, which is the moon in Leo on the 10th and Venus in Leo, square Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. It's very material. And then the Virgo Pisces axis is more about imagination and bringing it to fruition. So we have these two different stories going on. The 13th, the moon moves into Virgo, which means we are very close to the new moon in Virgo. So it's time to talk about what that means, okay? I went over the full moon in Pisces when we first had our video, and that was at 7 degrees, which means the new moon in Virgo is going to be in late Virgo. Okay, there's something special about this new moon in Virgo. Very, very special. Number one, the ruler of the new moon, which is when we plant seeds. And I'm looking at the 14th of September. Let's just go ahead and circle it. The ruler of Virgo, Mercury, is going direct that day. Mercury is coming out of retrograde on September 14th, okay? The new moon is the time we plant seeds, so we have definitely learned something. Now, Mercury direct, still trine Jupiter, even though it's not exactly trine Jupiter, it hangs around trining Jupiter for pretty much like the month, okay? So Mercury is stationing direct, moving forward. We just had Venus station direct on the 3rd, yay. So now we have two things direct. Other things are retrograde right now. They're outer planets. I don't want to harp on that too much because anything retrograde, yes, it can slow things down. Saturn's retrograde. I'll look and see. I think Jupiter may be retrograde right now. Let me look really quick while I'm here. While I'm here talking about it, no, Jupiter goes retrograde later in the month. Let me just double check that date. Oh, Jupiter goes retrograde the same day that Venus goes direct. So right around here. Mercury is trining Jupiter as it goes retrograde. That I would not get too caught up in that. Jupiter's still Jupiter. A retrograde can be internal. It can maybe slow things down. I feel like that's more with Saturn than anything, but possibly Jupiter. But this Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter retrograde on the 4th is definitely going to bring up, okay, now that we've figured out what we want to redo in the Virgo area, maybe we want to also think about how we can pause on the Taurus area and rework that, okay? So that's just something to note. But that being said, whenever we have Mercury direct, things do feel like they move forward. Even though Jupiter is retrograde, even though Saturn's retrograde, Mercury direct, Venus direct, all by the 14th is like time to move forward. And then also it's a new moon. This feels like a fresh start, at least right now. The new moon in Virgo is about what do we want to grow. Now, Virgo is mutable earth. It's like sand. It's like dust, which is why it's the details, right? It can move very easily. Virgo is the mind. With Mercury, the ruler of it, going direct, we are very sure of the seed we want to plant here. This is very purposeful and very meticulous. And I think we've done a lot of soul searching and a lot of wondering. And we are definitely planting this seed for how we're going to move forward. And with Virgo, it's how you literally do things every day. It's ritual, routine, it's health. It's how you're taking care of not only your body, but the things in your life and how it all works together. So that's what we plant the seed for on the 14th. But it's trine Uranus. Uranus is change, y'all. So we've got this opportunity to change, to break free, to pivot, to do something differently. We've already rethought it and reworked it and all of that. And now with the trine to Uranus, it is time to plant a seed for a completely new plant. All right. Love it. Love it. Very excited about that. And then what we've got is the moon moving into Libra on Friday the 15th, which is a cardinal sign, which means, yes, on the 16th, the moon will conjoin Mars. Now that a meetup of the moon and Mars is not as tense as a square or an opposition. A meetup of the moon and Mars is more like motivation. Let's take action on this, okay? So that's going to be something that I think varies with everyone, whether it's going to be something good or maybe something more emotional. But just note Moon Mars on the 16th. And maybe if you do need motivation, that's a time where we take action on it, especially with regards to people or social activities. It's Libra. The 17th, the moon moves into Scorpio. Scorpio is not the moon's favorite sign. It's the depths of our emotion. Okay, so it has to kind of be in this dark place and seeing things that we normally just stuff down and don't want to see. But the same day, Venus is square Jupiter. So I put a smiley face and a dollar sign there. There's a reason. Venus, love and money. Venus is now direct. Venus has already rethought some things about what we desire, what we want out of our life, what makes us happy, our inner child. That's what Venus was doing. It's square, which is tension to Jupiter and Taurus, which is like, yeah, but I'm trying to, maybe save in my bank account. But the square, even though it's tension, a lot of times the square with two good guys, Venus and Jupiter, both benefics, can just expand them both, right? So it could be good for people. I've seen Venus square Jupiters be very good. So I wouldn't take that as a bad thing. I do say watch your pocketbooks around Venus square Jupiter, But right now, Mercury is direct, Venus is direct. We got a square to Jupiter, retrograde. But still, I think that this is a chance to do something or take action on something that we've learned through the Venus retrograde. The 19th, the sun opposes Neptune. You see the clouds in front of the sun here. It can be quite foggy. It is a time, Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. I don't typically look at the modern rulers, but I do think Neptune has a close association with Pisces and definitely has some similarities with regards to its archetype. So with it being foggy, lack of clarity, dreams, inspiration, it can be a little bit of a foggy day Tuesday. And sometimes you will actually, and it's true in the South, maybe because we have more foggy days because it's so humid down here, but every time the sun is like making an aspect with Neptune or something, I swear it's actually foggy outside. But just, we may not be on point that day is all I'm saying. On the 20th, the moon moves into, but that's a great day to meditate and to get into your like spirituality. The 20th, the moon moves into Sagittarius, which, that can be uncomfortable because it's going to square Mercury and it's going to square the sun. So we'll have the first quarter square of the moon. That'll probably be the 21st, Thursday, which is a time to take action on what, though, you ask? That's going to be from the new moon. Do you see how our calendar is linked to the moon here? We have the new moon on the 14th and we have the first quarter square on the 21st. And then, then we're gonna have the full moon, the 29th, almost exactly 7 days apart. So the calendar that, astrology helps with not only pattern tracking, but being able to think outside of ourselves with regards to the calendar, even like, oh, it's the moon moving, that's determined this. Okay, so we've got the first quarter square of the moon on the 21st. So we take action on whatever. And in Sagittarius, that's kind of nice because Sagittarius is like a pack of wild horses, right? But it indicates there may be some tension because Virgo, we planted that seed in Virgo. We want to do it right, The moon will trine Venus, though, while it's in Sagittarius. So I expect this to be a good, but yes, needing to take action on something time. The 22nd, the moon moves into Capricorn. And then we have the 23rd, we have the moon squaring Mars because it's in Capricorn. And then we have the sun entering Libra. So if you will see this little sun thing I got here, it's the sun and then it's the moon. It's equal day and night. That's the sun entering Libra. So yes, that is the start of autumn. Again, linked with astrology. When the sun moves over the 0 degrees Libra point, it's equal day and night, and it is the beginning of autumn. But at the same time, the moon squaring Mars that day, so it could be a little wobbly. And I mean, I would expect it to be anyway, the sun entering Libra. It's a change. Okay, the 24th, the moon's in Aquarius. Okay, so if you see, here's another good way to look. I love looking at it with this calendar here. The moon is in Taurus on the 3rd, which is a Sunday, and Leo on the 10th, which is a Sunday, and Scorpio on the 17th, which is a Sunday, and in Aquarius on the 24th, which is a Sunday. And all of those moon signs are fixed. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, fixed signs every 7 days, fixed signs. So what does that mean? Well, the fixed energy, Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus. Venus is in Leo. Nothing's in Scorpio, but the moon will square or oppose or conjoin things. And then same with Aquarius. Nothing's in Aquarius right now, but the moon is going to square, conjoin, oppose things, okay? So with the moon in a fixed sign, it's going to activate Venus, Jupiter, and Uranus. Money, love, inner child, values. Every Sunday. And then really Sunday, Mondays during these weeks here, Sunday, Mondays, okay? So that can be a little stressful because it's generally going to be a stressful moon signature. Now, the moon in Scorpio square Venus may not be so bad. Again, Venus is a benefic. The moon in Aquarius opposite Venus, it's just important to note. It's going to bring up the Venus themes, okay? The 26th, the moon's in Pisces, going to hit Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces. Again, we'll see that moon in Gemini, moon in Virgo, moon in Pisces, really close to the middle of the week. We're going to have the Saturn activation and the Mercury activation. Mercury's in Virgo. These are all mutable signs. Mutable signs are square to each other, okay? So moon in Gemini on the 5th, moon in Virgo on the 13th, moon in Sag on the 20th, moon in Pisces on the 26th. All right. The 27th, moon's still in Pisces, and it's going to conjoin Neptune. And then the 28th, the moon's in Aries. Very important point, Venus is square Uranus for the 3rd and final time, which means we are almost out of Venus's retrograde shadow. This is the last moment to change up something with regards to where Venus is for you. So look at that during your rising sign report. I'm going to have the calendar up during your rising sign reports too. This is the general, okay? Venus square Uranus, a change will do you good. Break free, maybe something unexpected, which a chain breaking can be either. You're either breaking it on purpose or it's an accident if a chain is breaking, okay? So Venus square Uranus brings up those themes. My inner child, my creativity, Venus there, maybe my rebranding, and Leo, how I'm seen, how I want to do things in the world with regards to joy and fun, Venus, love, romance, money. Square tension to Uranus, which is trying to free you and your values, help you grow something new. Your inner child may be stuck and the Venus retrograde was helping unstick it. Well, this is the final unsticking point on September 28th. September 29th is the full moon in Aries. You get a 3rd moon out of me on this video. Can you believe it? But this full moon in Aries is not aspecting anything, okay? That means it is just by itself shining its light on Aries. Aries is what I want, what I need. Mars is in the opposite sign of Libra, what other people want, what other people need. But that's ruled by Venus, which is still in Leo. So Leo's ruling even this full moon. Venus in Leo is. And so actually during this time, the sun enters Venus's home on the 23rd, Libra, and Venus is in the sun's home, Leo. So we have mutual reception between the sun and Venus, and that's really nice. And I think this full moon in Aries is going to bring that up. Maybe there is a change we've made that allows us to feel more autonomous or more authentic in our relationships because we've acknowledged what our inner child needs or what creativity we want to embody, or we've rebranded, and now we're ready to be seen with the full moon in Aries. Unaspected. All right, well, that finishes up September, you guys, and it gets you through 3 moons. How about that? So we're going to move on to the rising signs, which is going to be a separate video. I always do this in a playlist. You can also watch for your sun sign. You can also watch for your moon sign. I think rising is the best. I also, by the way, have this as a Google calendar. If you'd like it, I will post the link somewhere, probably on my social media. So look for that if you want to add the Google Calendar. It will have maybe not as fun graphics, but it'll at least have the info about where the moon is, things of that nature for September. Okay, guys. So what you can do is when you add that Google Calendar, you can note what area of your life, when you go through your rising sign video, what area of my life does this apply to? And then you can start to map your own patterns. It is brilliant and awesome, and I want everyone to do it. All right, well, I'm not going to keep you very much longer. Ecstaticastrology.com if you'd like to book a session. If you want to check out my music, it's loverapmusic.com. You can find it on Spotify, whatever, Amazon, Apple, all that stuff. Go give Howl at the Moon a listen tonight. I mean, at the very least, right? And yeah, if you add us to your playlist, it really helps my little band, and that's my other job. So, I'd appreciate it. Why not? Why not? Saturn and Pisces, dream big, everybody. I'll catch you on the flip side. Go check out that rising sign video. Mwah.